All right, greetings and welcome into Bettor's Last Stand. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you.
Hello,
this is
everybody.
Chubb on a sports betting show. Yes, he can do it all. He's been gracious enough to join us down here in the studio in relief of his father and Chris and Cooley and Luke, who all have better things to do, I guess, than spend an hour and a half with you guys. But, Chubb, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
We greatly appreciate you spending your time here with us. Can't wait to hear your insight and listen to the questions that you have for me. So that I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to have because I, as many of you know, if you listen to anything else we do, my sports knowledge is not great. So I'm just going to be throwing questions out.
Well, one could argue that none of our sports knowledge is really that
That's
good, especially when it comes to picking winners. But we're going to try to. We're here to serve you. We're at your disposal, so to speak. Try to get you winners each week. Talk about, analyze things, kind of break it down from a betting perspective, and give you a little bit of an inside look of how things work. If you're not familiar with it, or if you're newer to sports betting, try to guide you along. This is a show for all levels of sports bettors, whether you think you're an expert, whether you're making a lot of money, whether you're just getting into it, whether you just do it socially when you're drunk and with your friends, which is kind of how us Pine Room guys go about it. Although I like to say I'm somewhat in the profession, but as far as my own social betting goes, you get around the guys and sometimes you do dumb things. So.
I don't bet a lot, but when I do, it's around friends. That's like the Dos Equis guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't always bet, but when I do, it's in the Pine Room.
Hey, you said you're not sure about your wins, but you're up 3 units this week.
Yeah, we had a pretty good week. I mean, anything, and bettors will tell you, anytime you're ahead on the week is a pretty good week. Because even if you scratch out even, it could be worse. Because a lot of times you get just beat around, like your dad the other day was telling us on the radio. Said, I bet 5 baseball games last night. Guess what record I was? I said 1-4. No, 0-5.
Yeah.
Like, impossible, but, it seems like you never go 5-0, but 0-5 is very, very sustainable.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so you're up 3 units. Sam had a good winner with Denny Hamlin in the race. He had top 5 with Eric Jones, which is a good payout. Scott Dixon in both Iowa races, both top 5 finishes. So if you had both of those, you made a little bit of money. And then he had Max Verstappen to win the Formula One race, which is pretty much the easiest bet of the week every week is either him or Sergio Perez from Red Bull, who have won every race this year.
Yeah, when I put the pick sheet together, I always see Verstappen. Every week Verstappen's on there. At least when they're racing, because it's like, and I imagine that he is like the big dog.
Yeah, he's a dominant force. Red Bull is the dominant team right now. Their 2 drivers have won every race this year. And you have some teams making some strides. The McLaren team and Mercedes have been racing a lot better, but they got nothing for him. And Verstappen just gets out there and they can't catch him. And his price every week, it's a marvel. He's minus $3 or so. And I don't like to give those bets out. We don't give out a lot of big price favorites on this show ever, or on our social media or Twitter, none of that stuff. But we do recommend him pretty much every week, and try to double it up with a double podium finish for Red Bull, because those guys are just that good. And if you can get around even money on those guys, that's a great bet. I mean, it's a without a mechanical failure, it's I would say 96% chance they're going to finish in the top 3.
It seems like Team Red Bull and Mercedes, they're the big dogs.
Yeah, Mercedes has finally started to come back alive a little bit, and as I said, McLaren is making some strides. They were horrible at the beginning of the year, but they were double top 5 this week. Mercedes was double top 6 this week, which is one of the bets that I gave out. One of the few winners that I had, as George Russell and Lewis Hamilton both finished in the top 6. Ferrari's been the disappointing team. They have good cars. The drivers have been awful. They've underachieved a lot. And then Fernando Alonso is the other guy in F1 that's kind of a contender.
Now, is them, like you said, McLaren's making strides. They were horrible. And if Ferrari's horrible, is that operator error, or is that cars?
Well, I would say in McLaren's case, the car was awful at the beginning of the year. They've made a bunch of adjustments to it, and they finally got it competitive in the last 2 races, where they're consistently running in the top 10 in the points. And then this week, if Verstappen doesn't run off, there's a chance that Lando Norris could have won the race for McLaren. He finished second. As far as Ferrari goes, it's definitely driver issues. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz have not been very sharp at all. They've had a lot of mistakes. I still think their cars are pretty good. Like, they should be running in the top 3. pretty much every single race, but they don't. They lack it. They're falling out of the top 6 now. So Ferrari, I think, needs to address the drivers. McLaren needed to address the equipment, and they have. So, and Mercedes is kind of getting the balance. They have good drivers. Hamilton and Russell are good drivers, and they're finally getting the cars under them. So it's starting to come alive a little bit more competitive in recent weeks, but Max still the man to beat, and Sergio Perez right there. And we're going to talk with Sam about that in the third segment of the show today, as we are off in Indy this week, but we have NASCAR and F1, and we'll get into that as Max Verstappen goes to another track that he's a defending champion. Shocker. But up 3 units on the week for us. I was down about 7. So Sam carried us this week. I was dreadful in golf. Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. And I don't know if they were just bad picks or the way that the luck fell. But Brian Harmon, I should have listened to Curry. Curry liked Brian Harmon, and Brian Harmon wins it about 150 to 1, 100 to 1. You could have got a great price on him. He's a good player. I just didn't expect him to be able to dominate the way that he did, and it was a pretty boring tournament. So Brian Harmon, congrats to him. He wins the Open Championship. I was just horrible, as I said. F1, I was 2-0 in those, down about a half to 1 unit in AFL. Had some bad luck in those games, but not terrible. NASCAR was not good either. Sam, again, carrying us as I was 0-5 in NASCAR.
Ouch.
But off to a good start in World Cup. 6-3 so far in the World Cup. And Alexandra Popp, who we gave out, and I think around 10 or 12 to 1 to be the top goal scorer in the tournament. She scored twice in the first game, and Germany looked really good. So that's a very promising bet that we will look forward to here in the weeks to come. World Cup is in full swing right now. USA plays tonight as we record on a Wednesday. They're in 9 o'clock first kick, or I guess it's a kickoff. Yeah, a kickoff, they call it in soccer, against the Netherlands. Should be a really good game, so we'll look forward to watching that. Not much I can give you as far as that goes, but we'll talk plenty of World Cup. You can be sure and follow our picks, as I'll have some picks for the weekend, then I'll send to Jub, and we'll put them up on social media, so be aware of those. The World Cup has been really entertaining for me so far. I know it's weird times. You're getting up in the middle of the night and early in the morning to watch matches. So I like it. It gives me something to do in the morning as I'm preparing my day for work. So it's something to have on and follow. Just looking ahead a little bit to the weekend, Saturday's match, and I'll give these out as official plays, but I'm leaning towards Sweden and under in the match on Saturday morning. I think the Swedes are pretty tough. They're going to be very tough to penetrate if you're the Italians trying to score. I think it'll be a very low-scoring game. This is a noteworthy statistic here. Under 16-5 so far in the World Cup, Women's World Cup tournament. So that's not really that surprising, but they've been pretty easy. And then both teams to score no is 21-2 now. Damn. So a lot of shutouts. A lot of games where there's just one team scoring the goals. So you're getting favorites. You're getting actually a few of them have been upsets too. And then we had a 0-0 draw where neither team scored.
Is that a normal thing?
No, it's not. But I think here's what I think. I think that in the women's game, I think teams are starting to catch up with each other tactically and athletically. They may not have the talent of the better countries where to execute in the final third and score goals, but they're getting to the point where they can defend a little bit better. But so they keep the games very low scoring. That would explain the unders. As far as the teams not scoring, that will probably change. But teams tend to sit on leads. Once you score early, you kind of protect. And if you're the better team and you have the early lead, you won't take any chances. You want to win these groups, matches, so you can get a better seed when you get into the knockout round. So you're playing a lesser opponent. So it's really important. Goal differential matters a lot. So the better teams, the coaches are going to kind of say, we're not going to get all greedy here and try to score a bunch of goals. We'll take our 2 and just sit on the lead. So then that leads to the lesser team having to play from behind, and that's tough for them to be able to execute and score. But the unders will probably continue on even when the teams start to play each other, the good teams, because then they're able to match each other strength for strength, and the games stay very low scoring. So anything under 2.5 in most of these games is probably pretty good, but you can find some value on an over. There's going to be some overs. You just got to find the right ones. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the typical line on or the over-under?
Like a total for soccer?
Yeah, Yeah.
Normally it would be about 2.5. In some of these, you'll see United States, like against the Netherlands tonight, they're 2.5. But like the other day, it was like 6.5 against Vietnam because they're playing a vastly underwhelming opponent. So yeah, the higher totals. If you see a total that's higher than 3 or 3.5, most likely there's a gigantic favorite on one side of that.
Here's a question for you.
Yes.
With these, I'm looking at the Women's World Cup. Who will win?
Right.
2023, and you got the stat sheet here. What would be if you could pick, just like if somebody gave you $100,000, just a briefcase, and said, "Hey, here, throw this on something." You can't go within the first 5 within the top 5.
The top 5 odds.
Yeah.
So I got to go outside of the top.
You got to go outside. Like, what do you think would have potentially the most value?
Well, I'll tell you right now, and they're going to get a great price because they're in the same group as the United States, as the team that the U.S. plays tonight, the Netherlands. They're the runner-up last time. They didn't play very well in the Euro tournament last year, but they had some girls hurt. They are without their top scorer, but they're a good team. They're very balanced. They'll give the USA trouble. They're not going to roll over. I mean, they played the USA really tough the last time. So I would say the Netherlands at 24-1, you're getting a good price on them because people think they'll finish second in the group because they're in there with USA, which means then they'll have to play a group winner, which makes their path very difficult to get out. But if they could somehow even draw with the United States tonight, then they sit in a spot where they could, on goal differential, they're going to end up, they play Vietnam in the last game. I mean, they could score 5 or 6 on them and then maybe win the group, and then the tide turns on them, and getting them at 24-1 is a great bet, and they would be one of the tournament favorites if they weren't in that group with the United States. So I would definitely go with the Dutch ladies. I think they're definitely a formidable opponent. My pick was Germany, but for the purpose of this exercise that you gave me, the Netherlands would be my choice.
Would you? So you're telling me don't throw anything on Morocco?
Probably not Morocco. I'll tell you another intriguing one too, and they played really, really well so far, is Japan. Japan is just tactically sound. They're really, really good. Yes, they play a good brand. They attack, they counterattack, and then they're quick strike, and they defend pretty well. The only thing about Japan I think hurts them in the games later in the stage of the tournament is their height and their size. So on set pieces, they're very, they can get exposed on set pieces against the United States, those types of teams that have big center backs or center forwards that can play in the head.
Norse ladies.
Yes, like the Norwegian and the Swedes, with some aerial abilities. That's where Japan lacks it. But Japan is nothing to look over.
Is soccer a big thing in Japan?
Yeah, it's getting pretty big. I mean, baseball's their biggest sport, but soccer's pretty big. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I'll give the Japanese people extreme amount of credit for is they support the hell out of their teams. I mean,
man,
raucous crowds, and they travel really well. And soccer's starting to really gain a lot of traction as they continue to get better. And their women's program has been good for a while. Actually, they were a runner-up in a World Cup probably a decade ago, and they've stayed on par. So they're always a team that probably nobody wants to play. They're one of those teams that's just a pain in the ass to go against. So, yeah, Japan is definitely a contender. I think they could definitely make a good run in the knockout phase. But, World Cup soccer well in swing right now. We're starting into match day 2s right now. I think 2 groups have played their second days right now, starting into that on Wednesday and finish it out through the weekend. And then by the end of next week, we'll be out of the group stage and into the knockout round. So stay tuned for picks on those. We'll have plenty more analysis and insight. It's very fun to watch, and just sticking on soccer, staying with Messi right now.
Yeah.
The sweeping the world. If you weren't aware of Messi before this, you are now, as the United States is getting a taste of how good this guy really is. And his first 2 matches for Inter Miami have been just tremendous atmospheres, and he has not disappointed. He scores late to win the first match that he plays in on a free kick as the game is ready to draw. I mean, it's literally the last kick of the game. Scores, and they win 2-1, and then last night they won 4-0. So he's dominating, and I think he's going to continue to dominate because he's bringing some of his buddies over here. Jordi Alba is going to be joining the team, Sergio Busquets, and most likely Luis Suarez. Those are 3 guys that play with him at Barcelona. They're all towards the tail ends of their career, but they're all still very good. And tactically, they're going to be so much more talented than most of the players on the field in the United States and MLS. So I think you have some value on Messi to attack some of these markets. The odds already have been cut down a ton. Inter Miami was about 200 to 1 to win the MLS Cup, and now they've dropped all the way down to 16. And then to win the Eastern Conference, same thing, around like 75, 50 to 1. Now they're down to about 25 to 1. So the ironic thing is that the Eastern Conference must be so much power rated, so much better than the West, because 25 to 1 to win the East and then just 16 to 1 to win it overall. So that could have something to do with betting pools as well. But it seems as if Messi and the boys would get out of the East, they would have a very good chance to match up and win against the Western Conference. And the MLS is a little bit different than most soccer leagues across the world. So they actually play like North American style playoffs, like best of 3 and stuff. And it's different knockout stage rules than in England and Spain and these other leagues. There is no playoffs. They have European tournaments and things, but they don't really have, their league doesn't actually have playoffs. So Messi is a new experience for him, but you can see he's like reinvigorated, and it's really great to see because, I mean, the dude is just so good, and he's one of these people that you look at the roster of Inter Miami and you say, there's no way one guy can make that big of a difference, but he can, because he does so many things. He's not just a scorer. Just the way he, on the ball, attracts 5, 6, 7 defenders and can go at them 1-on-5 and just makes other guys better.
As a guy that doesn't watch soccer, I know who Messi is, and right. I know that he's like an Avenger when he comes to like the soccer world. So it's got to be for him like to be so adored by fans, and then to have him in a whole new environment where he's going to have a huge supporting crowd. Right. I mean, that's got to be momentum under his wings.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think he really enjoyed playing in Paris. He made the move. He played most of his career in Barcelona, incredibly successful, winning Champions Leagues and every other title that you could possibly win. Wins the World Cup this year, his first one, and then in his time in Paris, I don't think he enjoyed it at all. I think he wanted to get out of there, and I think this move is great for him. He's a Spanish guy. He speaks Spanish he's from Argentina. He's comfortable in lands that speak Spanish, and South Florida is a very big Spanish community, and you have a ton of South American people now who are now close enough to be able to get to see him live. I mean, it's tough if you don't have money or anything. I mean, it's tough for you to travel to Europe to see him play. So this is really awesome for the entire continent and the entire hemisphere, really. You get people coming up from South America, all through the Caribbean. You're going to just draw in so many people. And I bet he does feel at home, because in Barcelona, that area of Spain even is a little bit different than the rest of the country. It's its own, like the Catalonians and the Basques, and it's different parts of Spain. This probably feels more like Argentina type home to Messi. And you could see it in his face. Like his family's pumped to go there, to be there. It's really, and I thought it was funny. Like the first day he was in town, they had videos of him at the Publix, the grocery store down there shopping,
getting a chicken.
So.
It has to be outside of like a Spanish speaking country. This probably has to be the second best place he could go.
No question.
To be part of a community.
Yeah, and to get paid great money. David Beckham lands him, but you know what? They didn't overpay for him, and he could have taken. The Saudis were offering him $1.5 billion almost per year to go over there, and he turned them down. And I mean, he doesn't need the money, but most guys would take that for sure.
Seems like it says something about who he is.
Yeah, I really do think he loves football that much and wants to bring it. And I think this was kind of always on his radar. Finish in the United States, capitalize off the endorsements. I mean, I saw him. LeBron was there to see him, and I'm no LeBron guy, but I mean, it was like Messi. Cool. Messi literally lit up when he saw LeBron. He hugged him. They talked for a while. It was neat. I will say it was cool to see that. So I wish him the best. And I think just getting back to the betting side of things, Inter Miami now is a dangerous team. In soccer, all it takes is one moment of brilliance to win a match, and he has so many more moments of brilliance left in him. I would not count this team out. He's late 30s.
Oh man,
yeah,
he's good to go.
He's got time. He might actually even be mid-30s, maybe 36. I
hope I can move like him when I'm
and even in the World Cup, you noticed the ball sticks to his foot literally like it's on a string. And I know people will argue about who the best player is all the time. I don't see there's anybody even close to him. Cristiano Ronaldo is maybe the best goal scorer ever, but Messi all the way around, his dribbling, his his build up play, the way that he sets his teammates up, and he can obviously score with either foot from anywhere. Penalty taking, just so cool. But yeah, Inter Miami is a contender. I think they can win the East. I made some bets on this myself early just to try to beat it before the market keeps moving. As more people start to jump on this, I think you're getting some value. He's good enough to carry him. If they get these other 3 guys with him here in the next couple of weeks, they got 11 matches left, and if they're able to get into the playoffs, anything could happen. And right now he's around 9-1 to win MVP and 40-1 to win the top goal scorer. Now he scored 3 goals already in 2 matches. They weren't MLS games, though. They were cup matches, so they don't really count on the total. But the top goal scorer in MLS right now is 13 goals. Messi can score 13 goals in probably 2 weeks. He can average 2 a game here, probably. So I think there's a shot at that as well. So these are definite plays right now, and you're going to want to get them because these are going to keep falling. So I would highly recommend throwing a few bucks. Just throw a roast beef sandwich money on it or something, just a little bit. But so great stuff going on in soccer right now. It's nice to see this in our country. A player this good finishing his career and still doing it at a very, very high rate. So
it's got to be on your bucket list to go down.
I want to see him for sure. I love South Florida. Being a Miami person, Miami of Florida. Definitely want to make it down there at some point, or when he gets closer to here, I'm going to definitely make a trip.
Can you imagine if you maybe got away from soccer for a little bit, but you were a huge Messi fan, and then you went into Publix to get like a gallon of milk, and you just saw him like walking down the cereal aisle?
That's like, I'd probably fall down. Like that would be once in a lifetime type thing.
Yeah, get a box of Blueberry. Yeah.
Yeah, Messi's favorite cereal is Count Chocula, Frankenberry. Yeah, so good. Best of luck to him. And soccer is a beautiful game for a reason. Switching over to something that's not the beautiful game. NFL, Saquon Barkley, he made this big stand last week about the running backs being underappreciated and disrespected, and they didn't get any money, and wah, wah, wah. And then he goes and signs a 1-year deal with the Giants for like $2 million more. It's like, and he kind of left the other guys kind of hanging, the other guys that were holding out. So, don't really know how much of an impact that'll have on the Giants. Don't really care that much, but we're getting close, Chubb, to NFL season. Oh, it's only it's less than about a week away from the Hall of Fame game. Training camp starts today. People are getting excited about it. I'm not, but I know you probably are.
No fun league.
Yes, no fun league, as Champ says. But yeah, so we're going to be talking plenty more NFL. Coach will be making his return, and some of these guys that absolutely love football.
Hey, and then you're going to be making your return to high school lines for football.
Yes, we will. For those of you who've only ever watched BLS or the podcast, check us out on the radio. We do the high school lines from around the Ohio Valley, all up and down the river on Ohio and West Virginia side. And obviously we don't take real action on it, but it's very fun. Even you get involved, Job. You usually make some great prognostications based on mascot and which mascots are going against each other, that type of stuff. So if you're interested in getting some betting talk about the high school football around the area, check us out on WKKX, The Watchdog. We're on there 7 hours a week from Monday, Tuesday, Thursday currently, but we may be moving to Friday from Thursday for Football Friday specifically. And stay tuned for more action at the Pine Room Studios. You can find all that out. You can follow us on social media all over the place, or call in the show and tell us you're listening and ask any questions you want. Just a couple other things highlighting and off-season stuff. Penguins still trying to get Erik Karlsson. Still working on that deal. Hopefully they do. That will really help them in their power play, and they're going to be a live team if they could get him, as far as maybe being able to win the Metropolitan Division and make the playoffs, make a pretty deep run. If they don't get him, it's going to be probably another difficult year. Let's see. Justin Herbert, Knicks guy, quarterback for the Chargers, signs an extension. He's now the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
What's he making?
I don't even look at it anymore.
Hundreds
just absurd. I mean, I thought Mahomes getting $500 million but he now makes more than Mahomes as the highest paid guy now. So it's just whoever's up for the contract next is the highest paid guy, just based on inflation. Too bad in the real world, like jobs where I work, they don't ever adjust us for inflation. You won't get what you get. That's the way it's going to be. Hall of Fame game, as I said, August the 3rd. Browns and Jets. So maybe Chris is going up. Browns and Jets, we'll talk about that. I have an early play on that. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time, but I'm sure we will discuss later. Under 33.5, I think, is a really good bet here. This is Thursday, August the 3rd. So I guess that's next Thursday. Yeah, next Thursday. Kevin Stefanski and his team are actually down at the Greenbrier right now. They're doing their training camp, their first week down there in West Virginia, and they're getting ready. But he's already said none of their main guys are going to play in this game. So I think under is going to be a great bet. And Aaron Rodgers on the other side for the Jets. I'm doubting he will see any action in this game. If he did, it would be nothing more than a series. So I think under 33.5, you're going to have a lot of guys trying to make the team for the Jets and the Browns, and I don't think it's going to be a really great game. I think last year the game stayed in the 20s. There's been a lot of unders in this Hall of Fame game. It's tough. You've only been practicing for literally 10 days, and then you got to go play a game. So it's definitely not a well played game, but it gets people's juices flowing for football. And I'll be betting the under and just hoping that the clock just runs and the time runs out really fast. So we'll talk plenty more about NFL. We'll have our division previews and all that stuff, our season-long win total bets, which I gave some of those out a few weeks ago. If you wanted to get on those early, we'll get Chris, we'll get Coach, we'll get Luke in here, Cooley. They can run down the analysis of each of their teams and hopefully give you some winners. And then college football, we got 31 days. I'm sure your dad's waking up every day more excited by the moment as we get near college football. There was a couple of games I thought that week one were semi-interesting to me, and I don't even know where my paper's at. But yeah, I'm not missing it that much. But yeah, so we're getting very close to that time of year. Yeah, okay. San Jose State and Notre Dame were two teams I thought in week 0 were worth a look. Notre Dame laying 20 at Navy. Or at home against Navy. That might be a neutral game. And I like the over in that game of 49.5. And San Jose State is a game that your dad gave out on the radio that Schneid Dog gave him. San Jose State catching 9 at home. They're supposed to be much improved. And then looking at week 1, I really like UConn getting around 16 or 17 against NC State. UConn improved a bunch last year. And they'll be dangerous at home. I think they play NC State very close. And then Utah, -8 at home against Florida. Florida replaces the quarterback. They got a lot to replace. Utah, a very tough place to play. So we'll be taking a shot with the Utes. I'll recap all these as we get closer, but those were a couple of games that stood out to me on the radar. I'm not, you guys know by now, and people think like, oh, Matt hates football. It's just not the product it used to be. The college game is with the transfers, and you basically know who's going to win it all. Like I can tell you, like Georgia or Alabama.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is there going to be like the Max Verstappen of college football?
It's basically you have like 2 or 3 teams. So you have Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia, and then Clemson had a down year last year. But if they come back up, I mean that's your top 4. At least 3 of those 4 teams will be in the playoff. So it leaves no chance for a team to make a miracle run.
Why is it like that? Is it just because players come and go and stuff like that, or they buy them?
Right. Well, now they more or less they can buy them. They're actually able to legally buy them anymore because you're getting the name, image, likeness money that they're getting. So then that just makes it even tougher. Now, a lot of people thought that would level the playing field. But if you're going to get money to go to a team that continues to win, why wouldn't you go there? Like you want to help your brand. Going to Alabama and going to Georgia and going to Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, like those teams, that'll help you. I mean, that's going to make you a millionaire before you even get to the NFL. So,
looking at the sheet, I'm just at the regular season wins. Alabama at 10, Michigan at 10.5. Georgia at 11.5, so that seems like those are the 3.
Yeah, and then where's Ohio State? They got to be at least 10.5, 11.5, or they. I don't know if they were even on there. They might be on the back. Ohio State 10.5. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's. Yeah. Georgia has a really easy schedule. It's actually laughable. If they don't get to their win total, it'd be shocking. But they do have to replace a quarterback, so that's never easy. Alabama will definitely be close to going over on theirs, and yeah, you really only have. Like 3 or 4 teams, USC's trying to get back in the national spotlight.
Say, I noticed them, and then Washington at 9.5.
Yeah, with Michael Penix, they had a good year last year. People are expecting them to take a step up, but
Penn State at 9.5.
Yeah, Penn State will be good. They played the Mountaineers the first game. Really, really good defense for Penn State, and if they can improve their offense at all, which has been bad for years, they'll be a contender, at least a Rose Bowl contender.
Then Bay's Longhorns, Texas at 9.5.
Taking a lot of steam on Texas. People like them. Coach Sark.
What are you thinking on our Mounties at 4.5?
I mean, they were picked last in the Big 12. They're using that as the disrespect card, but they don't have an easy schedule. I mean, they got to play Penn State and Pitt out of conference. I mean, those aren't easy. Big 12's not a great league, but man, the Mountaineers don't have a whole lot of talent. I'd like to see them do all right. I think that Neil Brown guy's an all right guy. I just don't. Yeah. I don't know. Mountaineer sports right now is a little iffy.
Here's a question for just a betting question.
Yes.
Will these season wins, will these shift at all, or are these set in stone?
So, no. So here's how those will go. They've moved as much as they'll move right now. So what happens when you post these things? So like I got these ones off from Circa. Ours are pretty similar where I work. But what they'll do is they put these up, and then the pro guys who have their power ratings, who spend their entire year on this stuff, professional bettors who just bet college football or pretty much predominantly college football, they're going to come and they're going to make their big bets. They're going to come in and they're going to bet $10K on Maryland over or $10K on Louisville over. And what that'll tell the bookmakers is, all right, maybe I'm a half game too high or low on this, because this comes down. College football and pro football, you can literally go through the schedule. It's a little bit different than like in baseball and even in basketball. You're playing so many games. When you're only having to concentrate on 12 games a year, you're looking at, you can spot, okay, this is a guaranteed win for this team. So you can almost go through the schedule, find, we'll say Louisville, for instance. Say they have, like, you got 6 games they're 100% winning. Well, that means that out of their other 6, they only got to win 2 more. Those are 2 to get you a push, 3 to get you the win. So then you start looking at, okay, how close are they with this team? Could they win this field goal game? You'll take a shot. And that's how these guys rate them. So then they're coming in and they're saying, oh, they have Baylor set at 7. I have Baylor winning at least 8 games. So, bam, that's going to be an over. Yeah. Or I have Baylor rated, they have a really tough schedule, and I have Baylor only winning 5 games. And then so that'll be an under. So the original, when these get released around March Madness or a little bit after that, so actually probably more towards the summer, between March Madness and late spring, like baseball season almost, you'll see these posted, and then kind of like the pro money will show, and then it stabilizes. So these will stay like this. Yeah. And then late, once training camp starts and maybe injuries or a guy gets pissed and transfers, or then they may adjust a little bit. So that's how.
But they're only going to shift it like
half
they're
game.
Not gonna go down.
Yeah, I mean, now for instance, like Northwestern, they had that debacle with the program. The coach is fired and all that mess. That may, cause them to drop it a couple games, or a coach gets fired or a player like Jim Harbaugh is going to get suspended for 4 games from Michigan. Won't matter. They play 4 garbage teams at the beginning of the year. But in instances like that where you'd have a coach on the way out, or the quarterback leaves or something, then you could see a jagged spike. But most of these, no, you're going to see, because we don't want to have to move these if we don't have to. So you would see us move them to like where you'd have like BYU, for instance, 5.5 is theirs, and to the over they're even money, to the under they're minus 120. Well, if steam come in on BYU for the under, and instead of dropping it down to 5, maybe we make it minus 150, minus 160 on the under instead of having to move the number. Okay. So you'll see juicing will be done in those circumstances where you don't want to move it, because you get the pros out there, if they have, they'll middle these. So if you have the pro guy comes out and bets Iowa under 8, and then it ends up going down to 6 or 5.5, and then they'll come back and play the over to try to get it right in between. So if Iowa wins 7 games, they win both sides of it. So you'll have people looking for that, and that you can do that too. So there's no reason. You don't have to be a professional to bet like that. It's just these guys have capital, they have investors, it's easier for them to lay money on long-term bets, whereas the regular guy, he's betting to survive week to week, so he can bet with his buddies. But plenty more college football talk to go. We'll have our analysts here in the studio, so have fun, get involved. Contact at thepioneeringpodcast.com. Follow us on social media for all the action. Message us if you got questions you want to hear us talk about anything specifically, please do. And then last thing here in segment 1 before we take a break, baseball. Woo. The Orioles go into first place in the AL East. The Rays have really been struggling. They lost again today to the Marlins. Things are not looking well for the Rays, and the trade deadline is next week. So if you have some teams that you have a hunch that may get involved, this is the time to pull the trigger. This week is really important. This weekend series, this is it. I mean, these teams are deciding right now. You have millions of dollars on the line, not just from a betting standpoint, but in these actual franchises. Are we going to sell off players? We're going to trade, and then look for next year. Like so many teams should. Or do we think we're a player or two away from being able to legitimately make it to the World Series or at least to the championship series of our particular league? So some teams that I thought that should absolutely be sellers, begin with the Pirates, and we'll get Sam's thoughts on this. I've been saying for a while I think the Pirates should be sellers. People are looking at Bednar and Mitch Keller and Santana and McCutchen and any other guy on the team that can stand upright. Rich Hill, the ancient one, Rich Hill, is still getting some action. So the Pirates should be making moves right now and getting ready. If they're going to say, back up what they've been telling us, that 2024 and 2025 are their years to make a serious run in the National League, then they've got to move these pieces and get guys back. I'm not saying you trade for prospects. You may mix a prospect in, but you can get a guy who's a major league ready player. Teams have other needs. If you have a need that they have a bullpen need, and you can get David Bednar and say they have three really good something else, like whatever, an outfielder. They have a fourth outfielder that's as good as any starting outfielder you have. Get that guy back. These teams will part with assets on their big league club to try to win now in areas where they're weak, and that's bullpen, starting pitching, and there'll be a few teams that are looking for bats. Your teams that can't hit, Cleveland, Miami. I mean, these teams need bats. So each team will attack it from a different perspective. But sellers definitely to me would be the Pirates, the Mets. I think the Yankees should be sellers. They never will. They'll never admit they would be sellers, but I think the Yankees are pretty much done without Aaron Judge. The Padres, they've said they're not going to sell. They have a lot of money invested, but they got Josh Hader and Ian Snell. Blake Snell. Yeah, definitely don't get confused with Ian Snell. He used to pitch for the Pirates. Blake Snell, both up. Contracts are done this year, so they can walk at the end of the season. I think both of those guys get moved. They'd kind of be silly not to. White Sox will have a fire sale. I think they'll trade off at least three of their pitchers and pretty much any bat other than Luis Robert in their lineup. The Cardinals, I think, are pretty much teetering on the brink. They made a nice run after the All-Star break to kind of give themselves a second thought about selling, but sounds like they will. The Angels, I don't know what they're going to do with Ohtani. They should move him because they're going to, if they aren't certain they're going to re-sign him, they're going to lose him. And if you just let him walk away, it's going to be terrible. At least you can get some stuff back, try to build for the future, but it's really hard to replace a guy that's that good. I don't think you can ever get enough value back in return. I think the Marlins should be selling too. They got a pretty decent young nucleus of pitching and defense. They can't hit, and their bullpen needs some work. They're falling out of it. They did win today against the Rays, but they've slumped since the All-Star break. Teams that I think are buyers, I think the Orioles should buy a little bit. You don't want to mess up the future with that great core of young players they have. So I think they'll be looking for an arm or two. Bullpen is pretty solidified, although last night's game was a terrible loss as Bautista wasn't available, and they had to have Cano close, and it didn't work out. Texas is definitely going to be a buyer. They're all in right now. They're going to be looking for the biggest names on the market. Anybody that's available that's a big name, Texas will probably try to get. They're a contender seriously this year and next year. I think the Red Sox are going to be a dark horse. No one's talking about them. They're getting ignored. They've been in last place most of the year, but they still have a better record than more than half of the league that they're playing. So I think they're going to be dangerous. They're above 500. They got some pieces they can move. I think they're in on Ohtani. I think they'll give a run in him, and I think they're going to end up making the playoffs, whereas I think the Yankees and Rays are the teams that are trending downward. Toronto, definitely another contender. The AL East is so good. Toronto has been great of recent weeks. Lost a tough one to the Dodgers last night, but very good team. If they add a piece, maybe one more arm, a little bit of bullpen help, they got the lineup and defense to get it done. Astros probably need another bat and maybe another starter. They haven't gotten quite the performance you were expecting, but they're a playoff team. They turn it on in September and October, and I don't expect that to change. The Reds will be in a little bit. They don't want to mess their young core up, but they're good enough to win right now. They could win the National League if they get maybe a pitcher that could help put them over the top. Bullpen needs some work. The Cubs, I think, are a team most people would consider them to be sellers. I think they should buy. They're not that far out behind Milwaukee and the Reds, and those, they're within striking distance. They have some games left. They can make it up in that really bad division. So Cubs, I think, are one. Maybe take a guess on them, and you could get lucky at a good price to try to bet them now. And they could add some assets, and you could get a really good price on them to win the NL Central. And then I think the Giants are a team. They've been looking to add a big bat for a while. They tried Aaron Judge. They tried Carlos Correa. Fell through with both of those. they'll be in on Ohtani, I think. Dodgers definitely, they'll be after everybody big, so don't count them out. Teams that I'm not sure about, I don't know what Atlanta will do. They're really good. They don't need to add a whole lot, but maybe they want to bring one more arm in. The Brewers never seem to make any trades at the deadline that are helpful to their lineup. They always seem to go for pitching, which they have a pretty good starting rotation, and their bullpen's really good, so they need a bat. If they got a bat, I would like them a lot better. And then the Phillies, huge payroll, great lineup on paper. They haven't perform like it, shown some signs of coming to life. They probably need another big-time pitcher and some help in the bullpen. But if you can make guesses on these and you're right, you can get value. Bet the Blue Jays right now to win the AL East. I don't think that's impossible at all. 6-1. Orioles still plus money to win the division at plus 150. The Guardians right there with the Twins in a really bad AL Central, plus 270. If they made a move, maybe got a bat, and they're right in the mix. Astros plus 125 to win the West. I think they track down the Rangers. I think it's going to be a good battle. And then even the Reds at plus 190 to win the Central against the Brewers. And if the Brewers don't make any moves and get another bat, I think they're very susceptible. So, that's about it on the first segment of Bettor's Last Stand. Been good so far. Hope you're learning something. Jubbs enjoyed his time, I think.
Yeah. I've learned more than I would normally do if I was just doing nothing.
Soaking up the knowledge.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to do here. But we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, talk a little CFL, hit on some golf, Big Three basketball, and the TBT right here in Wheeling. It's Bettor's Last Stand with Matt and Jubb. We'll be right back.
Reminder, Bettor's Last Stand is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activity should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. You're watching Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back in. Bettor's Last Stand, Segment 2. Matt and Jubb here with you in the beautiful Pine Room Studio at WKKX, the Watchdog, downtown Wheeling. Been an exciting day. We had a UAP hearing on Capitol Hill today. Interesting stuff. Check that out.
Yeah.
Listen to our show, our radio show, and a podcast. We talk more about that kind of stuff if that interests you as well as sports betting. So, it's pretty cool to think about guys flying around in the sky and things that people have seen. It's remarkable.
I wonder if, before the next hearing, if you could make a line on whether they'll reveal if aliens exist. You could put that line out there.
I love it. I love it. I don't know how we'll ever find proof of that. I think there is proof out there if people want to expose the truth. I think they're just afraid of the way people act. But
yeah,
I don't know. There's got to be something out there. I've probably seen a few aliens myself. We mentioned that a lot.
Yeah, they're on the corner.
We just don't know them. They could be driving their ships around town.
Champ could be
but
an alien.
He very well could be. I think they would really like him up on their planets, wherever they would take him. I think he would be a wealth of knowledge. I think they could learn a lot from him. His manners, his etiquette,
his very clean
right.
Yeah, very, very clean etiquette.
Yeah, he's a sharp-dressed man. He's a ladies' man. I think that would carry well on whatever planet they were taking him to. But so if you see any aliens driving around town, give them a hey. And if you can't find an alien driving around town, you could surely find an IC cab. So
yes.
Call one of those, set up your pickup, your delivery. Italian Festival this weekend when you watch the show. Actually, when this is coming out, we'll be down there. We'll be down there live. So stop down and see us noon to 3 right over by the beer gardens. Jubb will be here in a nice air-conditioned studio while the rest of us be sitting out in 95. But, call IC Cab, 304-232-1313. Arrange your ride for the weekend. Italian Festival, Grecian Festival, Marshall County Fair, TBT. Everything's going on here in Wheeling. It's the place to be. So call IC Cab today. Set up your ride, and thanks to them for everything they do for the city and for us here at the Pine Room Studios. Let's stay on the TBT. The West Virginia team narrowly wins last night. We were sweating that out. We wanted to be able to talk about it. We have some of the guys from the team. Chase Harler's a friend of the show, been on with us several times. We wanted to have a couple of them guys maybe down on Friday to talk about it, but they survived last night narrowly against DuBois Dream. Hit a 3 at the buzzer. Well, not a buzzer, but it's played to a set score with that Elam ending. So they hit a 3, a walk-off 3, so to speak. Eric Stevenson, a player from the Mountaineers this year, hits it, and it was a pretty packed house. Job, did you see some of that on social media?
I was actually shocked because when I went to get tickets for our giveaway, that the third section up top,
I saw people up there.
Off, and then I guess they had to open it up.
But that's a good thing. It seemed like a good atmosphere, and Best Virginia survives. They don't cover. The game stays under, and now they're going to take on the Marshall team, who beat the Zoo Crew 86-71 last night in the final game of the night. Best Virginia -5.5, the total 152.5 on that one. So by the time you listen to this, you'll know if Best Virginia is in the final on Saturday. And then if they win Saturday, they got to play another final to get to the Elite Eight, so to speak, as Chase laid it out for us when he was on our show a few weeks ago. They'll be taking on the winner of the Syracuse Regional, which is the very heavily favored Boeheim's Army, named after the coach Jim Boeheim. So that would be really cool if the Syracuse guys got to come down here to West Banco on Sunday. That would be a really incredible game. And I think Best Virginia would probably be a slight underdog in that game, even though they would have the home crowd advantage. So we look forward to that. TBT is heating up. You're going to start seeing better games. They're all over TV, ESPN Plus. They'll be on the bigger networks on the weekends as these regionals start to wind down. And you can find betting lines on most of the books throughout the state of West Virginia and Ohio. So enjoy that while you can. Jumping over to CFL, Canadian football, keeping people going who are football-only bettors here in the summertime. You had the XFL, you had the USFL, and now you have the CFL. CFL is a pretty good league. It's 3 downs. I told Champ that the other day. I said, they only have 3 downs. No way! I said, the CFL's been around for a long time, and he's never even thought to give it a watch. But so CFL action kicks off on Friday night. You got Hamilton visiting Ottawa, the Red Blacks -4, the total 49 there. I'm going to lean towards Ottawa here in the over. I think they're just a little bit too good for the Tiger Cats at home. Tiger Cats have played a little bit better recently, but I'm not sure they can go on the road here and win in Ottawa. That's Brenda's team, probably. She lives in Ottawa. Although, you know what? She's probably a Calgary Stampeders fan because she likes the Calgary Flames in hockey. So if you don't know who Brenda is, check her out. Horrifying History. We had her on our show a couple of times. Probably have her back down the road. She does a really good job with literally Horrifying History podcasts. It's very informative and a nice change of pace from sports whenever you get kind of frustrated with baseball and all the other monotonous stuff that goes on in the sporting world. All right, Saturday, Saskatchewan, the Rough Riders visiting the Toronto Argonauts. Argos -10, total 47.5. I'll be leaning with the Argos here, but I don't want it. If it's any higher than 10, I'll be staying away. Lean towards the over in the game. Both these teams have pretty good offenses, so we'll give a shot with the over and lean Argos, but I wouldn't go up to 10. We had a game this past week. It was let's see, what game was it? It was hit right on the number. Oh, BC. Yeah, so BC I gave out last week minus the 9.5. I said don't go any higher than 10, and it hit right on 10. So if you got it early, you won. If you got it late with the 11 and a 10.5, you lost. So hopefully you listened to the show, and hopefully you got it in time. So every little point matters, especially around those key numbers, 6, 7, 10. Even in Canadian football, those numbers can kind of ring true, although you do have 1 point ability to score 1 points on the extra points and stuff in Canadian football, which you don't have in American football. All right, BC Lions at the Edmonton Elks. This is a Saturday evening game. Edmonton is a 8-point home dog. They're the worst team in the league. Total is 43. I'll be leaning under here. I think Edmonton's defense is actually decent. They can play with these other teams. Their offense is not very good. So we'll be going under 43 as the Lions visit the Elks. And then on Sunday, 7 o'clock kick, the Calgary Stampeders visit the Montreal Alouettes. The Alouettes minus 2.5. The total 47.5. I'm going to be taking the road dog in hopes that this game gets up to 3 or 3.5. So wait around a little bit, see if you can get 3 before you bet it. And I'll be taking the Stampeders, and I recommend the Stampeders. Chubb, have you ever watched the CFL before?
I've never watched a game before, but is it this? I mean, it's the same kind of layout as NFL.
It is. The field's a little bit longer, so you'll see it's I think 120 yards. It's extra, so like the yardage things will confuse you because like each team has its own 50-yard line, whereas in our football, the 50-yard line's dead even in the middle of the field. Each team, so they have a 55-yard, yeah, so,
like a no man's land.
Yes, it's right. It'd be like a neutral zone almost, and then their end zones are a lot bigger, so that makes up for more area. Their goalposts are like in a dangerous area where a guy could like get harpooned by one of them. But other than that, they have a few distinct rule differences. Would be the 3 downs, obviously.
Yeah.
A few things differently on scoring about blocking kicks and stuff you can get points for. And maybe the most, for a football person who was like an X and O guy, maybe the most distinct difference would be their guys are able to move motioning like towards the line of scrimmage, so they're actually getting a running start from the backfield. They can, as long as they don't break the plane of the neutral zone where the ball's scrimmaged from. So so you'll see some weird things like that, but the principle's still the same. You're trying to get first downs and score. But you only have 3 downs to get 10 yards instead of 4.
It's like Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah, it's very similar, but a few small differences. That's a good comparison. All right, let's jump over to golf. As I said, I was horrendous in golf, so maybe you don't want to be watching my golf picks or listening to my golf picks. But 3M Open, decent tournament, not the best field. Usually after a major, guys will take time off, especially coming back to the States. But you'll see some guys that you recognize as they head to the TPC Twin Cities in Blaine, Minnesota. This course is interesting. It got a lot of water, and it plays really long. So lots of hazards and areas where guys can screw up and have bad holes. So the 18th hole here last year, it was scored as the hardest hole on tour in the entire PGA Tour. So there's some water, there's some bad spots. It's a par 5 in one of the hardest holes in all of golf. So don't count it out if you have a guy down a shot or two heading to 18 on Sunday. You never know. So stay alive. Don't burn your tickets yet. If you're down a couple shots going into the last hole, the leader could run into some trouble on the 18th. Few guys I like, some of the top contenders right now. I like Hideki Matsuyama. Feel like his game's been decent lately. I think this is a tournament that he definitely could win. It's pretty accurate, and this is a kind of course I think he could score all right. Sepp Straka, maybe the hottest guy around right now. Been playing really well. Played great last week at the Open. Won a couple weeks prior to that over here in the States. I think he's live at 30-1. And Gary Woodland at 35-1 has had a pretty solid year. Won the U.S. Open a few years ago. Hasn't had his best form, but is starting to get back into that form in recent months. So we'll be taking a look at him. Those are the 3 top guys that I like. And then a few guys at a little more of an advanced price because we're always trying to find value. And I'll put all these up on social media for you. You can look at them. And the good thing about golf, you don't have to bet these all. If you're obviously this show's coming out on Friday, so we already have a round under our belts, but that's okay. If there's something that you like here that I give, you can still bet it into the weekend. You may get better value on it heading to the weekend. So if you like a guy and I like a guy and you think that's worth it, you might want to fade him. You might want to go against me, but if you want to go with me, there's still a definite potential. But I'll have these up on social anyway, so you'll be able to get them in before the tournament if you choose. A little bit better prices. Adam Hadwin, 40-1. I like him a little bit. Aaron Rye, 50-1. Lucas Glover, 51's been playing pretty well. Eric Cole, this young guy, he's had a really good season. He's due to have a breakthrough. He's 55-1. It's a good price. And Tom Hoagie, 65-1. Solid season for him. He's a pretty accurate guy, and I think this is a course that should suit him very well. Very big bombers. I got 2 of them. Grayson Sigg, he's a young guy, 90-1. And then Chez Reavie. Chez Reavie, 100-1. It's probably not a great number for him. Like that should actually probably be about 60-1 for Chez Reavie. He's a good player. His game's starting to come back and played better here in recent months. So I think Chez has a shot at 100-1.
I got two things.
Okay.
First one. Two. I don't know why I started with 2 first. One. Just for the sake of looking at this list and picking out 2 names, if you want to put with me, I'll put 2 bets on the sheet.
Yes,
this week.
Go for it. Gut bets.
I'm going to go with Bo Hostler, and I'm going to say, hopefully I say this wrong, Nikolai Hogard.
Yeah, Højgaard.
Yep. I'm going to go with those 2. Those are my 2.
I like both. Bo Hostler a couple of years ago was like a really hot and up and comer, and then he had some injuries and stuff. But he's starting to get it back together. And Nikolai Højgaard, he's been good in Europe, and I like him. I play him quite a bit.
And then my second question here on this list, I don't know whether this guy he changed his name like the weekend. The Field minus 150. What?
Yeah. So what the Field is. The field would be this is from our book at Wheeling Island. So every guy listed on here, any guy that's not. So this tournament has more guys than this.
Oh.
So you get the rest of the guys. Now it's at a reduced price. Now I disagree with most people and say the field should always be favored because you're getting so many more players.
That's what I was going to say.
But I disagree with that. I feel like if you look at golf tournaments, although last week does prove me wrong, the top guys, not the very top, but like within the top 50 to 60, usually your guy in there is going to win. But I get it. We price it that way because you're getting so many different options. So, yeah, that's the Field, Mr. Field. He's anybody but those listed there. So when you're looking at any book, anywhere, If they don't list every player, which very few do, circa I think the Westgate maybe, but in West Virginia you can get them on the apps. You can, like DraftKings, they'll have every guy, so you can get that. You won't have a field option there, but other books, in-person books, you'll see a lot of them have the field as an option. So be aware of that. If your guy's not listed there, you get the field, but you can do if you want to come. I feel bad when if somebody has a really good opinion on a guy and he's not listed here. If they come to me, I'll make them a line on the guy. I'll give them a better price because I mean, just speaking from experience, I don't want to bet the field at minus 150. Yeah, because if there's a guy I like, it's a big bomb. I want his price. You know,
because wouldn't a guy that's not on the field, wouldn't he be like
a lesser caliber,
1,000 to 1?
Right? He'd be going to be long priced. Now we have some guys that bet the field every week, and I guess they think that they're getting some kind of. I don't. You're laying money. You're laying $150 right there to win 100. If the guy wins, you're winning 100. And I mean, I know you got like 80 guys, but like they're not going to be the best 80 guys. So no, if you want a price on any of that stuff, I'll get that for you anytime at Wheeling Island Sportsbook. So stop over and see us if you like golf and you're in the field has given you issues in the past. We'll help you out with that. So best of luck in the 3M Open. I'll have those posted on our BLS Twitter page, BLS_PR. No, is it PRP? BLS_PRP. Jeez, I couldn't remember. Yeah. Or at the Pine Room Studios, you can find all that stuff. We retweet and like everything that the other account does, so you'll see everything. All right, jumping over finally here in segment 2. Actually, we got 2 more things to do in segment 2, but we're going to go through Big 3 basketball. I've just haven't been able to get a handle on this stuff. The games have been really good, and I enjoy watching it. I just have had I had a little bit more success this week. I think we were around 500, so maybe starting to see it a little bit better. But you got this is week 6 here in Boston this week. It's starting to heat up. This is down to the last couple of weeks of the regular season before they get into the playoffs. But I urge you to give it a watch. It's pretty fun. Basketball product to watch. Just a couple of games. I won't go through every game, but at 4:00 tip on Sunday at TD Garden, the Triplets in the Killers. I like that game over 90. I think both of those teams capable of scoring some points when they get going from the outside. They can light it up. So I thought 90 was a little bit low, but I see why, because both teams defend pretty well. But I think they'll kind of neutralize each other with the good offense. And I think that's a game that's probably going to be nip and tuck. So I don't think it's going to be a game where a team's going to be able to put the other one away very quickly. So we'll go over 90 there. And then the Power and the Enemies is a 5:00 tip. And we're going to go with the Enemies here. The Enemies catching 3.5 against the Power. The Power are very good. The Enemies have been a little bit up and down, but I feel like they're a team that I liked from week 1. I thought they could be dangerous in the playoffs. So we'll be going with the Enemies. And then in the 7:00 game, we got the Ball Hogs against Bivouac. And we'll be going over 91.5 in that matchup. I think both those teams can score a little bit, and again, I think it'll be a close game, so you'll have it kind of extended. You'll get a very tight game where teams got to win by 2, so it could drag on a little bit. And then the Aliens in Tri-State. Now the Aliens have been a team I liked last year a lot. They've disappointed me. They haven't won yet. They've been just terrible, and they haven't broke 40 except for one time this whole year. So that's a problem. But I think 90.5. I think we're getting a little bit crazy on these totals, and we're going to give a shot to the over here. We're going to take a shot that the Aliens can break 40 finally, and that Tri-State it will score about 56 or so.
I say all the stars have aligned to prove that these aliens exist. So right. I would take them this week.
Maybe that's just in my subconscious. Is why I always bet the Aliens, and they've let me down. But they're basically like, I think they were named like that because they're a bunch of guys that are like foreign guys. So I think that's why they named their team like that. So yeah, but I was an Aliens fan. I like I said, I bet them a lot last year. They were a good cover team, but haven't really got much traction this year. So hopefully they'll get in the win column against Tri-State and put that game over. Again, we'll have these picks on social. All right. The final couple things here in segment 2. We talked about all of the things that we previewed: CFL, golf, Big 3, TBT. Now it's time to hit my favorite sport, Aussie rules. We're gonna blow through that real quick. Give you a few winners. It always starts my day off with a smile when I'm watching these Aussie rules games early in the morning. So hopefully you tune in, have a coffee watch Collingwood and Carlton go at it on Friday morning. So these are Friday games. You won't get this one in, but I'll have it on the social media anyway. So if you checked it, maybe you had a winner last night. Let's hope so. Or early this morning, so to speak. Carlton at Collingwood. Collingwood is the top team in the league. They are coming off a really, really good game against Port Adelaide last week. They won by 2. It was an exceptional game. I watched the entire thing, and really two heavyweights clashing. Greatly enjoyed the game, although we had Port Adelaide. Didn't turn out well for us. Port blew a huge lead in the fourth quarter, and Collingwood came back to win it. But Collingwood is pretty good. I give them some credit. They have a couple of young players that are about as good as it gets in the league, and they could be a team to reckon with down the road. They are the favorite right now, the betting favorite to win the grand final, and they are a 15.5-point favorite here against Carlton at home. 158.5 is the total. We'll be going with Collingwood minus the points. I think they're just far superior to Carlton. Although you got to watch in this spot as a little bit of a letdown after they beat Port last week. So maybe a little bit of a scary spot. So I think if that game goes up, if it goes up to where it's near 20, I might stay off of it. But I do like the under. I think Collingwood, they're very good on defense, and they control the ball a lot. So I don't think Carlton will have much of the ball at all. Carlton needs the game. They're trying to get in that 8th spot. They're 9th right now. But I just don't think they can beat Collingwood on even Collingwood's worst day. So we'll be going with the Magpies. 11:45 Eastern time on Friday. So after you get your IC cab ride home, or you're at the bar still, 11:45 kick or bounce.
These are your boys.
Yes, Fremantle at Geelong. The Cats hosting the Dockers. The Cats need to win. They're 8th place right now. They're 9-8-1. They need to get in that top 8. I think they're going to be able to do it. They're better than most of the teams that are around them. But they need to win this game at home. They're 42.5-point favorite. 168.5 is the total. I think the Cats roll it up here. We'll be taking them minus the points, and we're going to go over 168.5 as they look to get themselves in the finals.
They're in 8th place.
Yeah, they haven't had a great year. They've had a lot of injuries. I think they got a little complacent. They've kind of just been going through the motions. I think they're waiting to try to turn it on, but sometimes that doesn't always work. So
looking at that line, you wouldn't think they're in 8th place.
Yeah, no, I know. And even if Fremantle hasn't been very good this year, but 7-11, they're only 2 games better in the win column than Fremantle. You would not think. But Geelong is a team that's been power rated a little bit better, kind of based off last year's numbers than this year. But I still think Geelong's going to be very tough to fuck with in the playoffs. Like they are not a team that you're going to want to play. So if Geelong can get up in there in the top 6, I think they'll be even more dangerous. All right, let's go stay on Friday night, 11:45 Eastern. Bounce for this one as well. This is a great game. GWS, the Giants at the Western Bulldogs, the Doggies minus 9.5. The total 154.5. This is a really good game. Both of these teams fighting for that last spot. I think Western's going to be in. They're in 5th right now. Both teams 10-8 though. This is a really, really good matchup. GWS has won 6 in a row. They've been playing. Their backs were to the wall. They had to win out almost to make the grand finals or the finals, and they've done everything they need to do. So now they're in a spot. They kind of control their own destiny. They keep winning. They're going to be in. I'm going to take them getting the points. If this thing gets up above 10, I'm hopeful it will. I'll be jumping on GWS to keep it a 1-score game. I think this would be a really good game, and I'm going to go under. I think this is really a tightly played game. Both these teams want this game for seeding to make sure they're in the playoffs. I think it's going to be a really good match to watch. So we'll be going with GWS at 10 or better, and then we'll be going with the game under 154.5. Jumping over to Saturday, 2:35 a.m. This will definitely be when you get your IC cab ride home. You'll be staggering in through the door to watch Brisbane and Gold Coast.
You're not going to see the end of this game.
Maybe
even
not if you are. Look
Yeah.
out. Could be trouble for you in the morning. You might be down the Italian festival looking for a greasy funnel cake at 9 a.m. and soak up the booze. Let's hope. But, call IC cab. All right, Brisbane at Gold Coast. Gold Coast has really, really hurt me this year. They were a team that I really like. They're in 14th place. They got absolutely murdered last week by the Giants. Doesn't look any better. Brisbane playing good football right now. They're playing well even out of town. Usually they don't play great on the road. 21.5. I'm a little leery of laying it with them on the road, but they have proven that they can do a little bit better on the road than they have in the past. So I'm going to be laying it with Brisbane, I think. I don't want it to go any higher than 21.5, and then we're going to take it under 164.5. Brisbane usually is not a team you would associate with an under, but Gold Coast is so bad on offense. I don't think they'll be able to score very much against Brisbane, who's improved on D. So we'll go Lions, and we'll go under in that matchup. Sydney at Essendon, 5:25 a.m. on Saturday morning. The Swans 2.5-point road favorites, 172.5. I don't understand this line. I think the Bombers are better. The Swans last week, they basically made every kick imaginable. I don't know how on earth they and I made a note of this. The game they played against the Dockers last week, they literally made everything. We had the game under, of course. I gave that out. They made every single difficult kick you can imagine. They won't do it this week. So we're going to be going against the Swans here. We're going to take the Bombers. I'd even look at them on the money line. If you can get a couple points, take it. And under 172.5. No way Sydney kicks the way they did last week. It's impossible. Next game, the Power. Port Adelaide lost 2 in a row. They visit their rivals across town, the Adelaide Crows at the Adelaide Oval. Port will be laying 3.5 on the road. It's basically a home game for both teams. 173.5 the total. Be going with the over here. I think this heats up. This will be a really good contest. Port Adelaide just better than the Crows, so I'll be taking them. I think you get a great number on them. I'd bet Port Adelaide all the way up to even almost 10. So they're 3.5 right now. I think that number will go up. They're getting healthy. Last week was a tough one for them, but I think they'll get it back in the win column. They're going to be pissed off, and they're going to be coming. So I still count Port as my favorite to win the entire thing come playoff time. The nightcap on Saturday, St. Kilda visits Hawthorn. Two teams. Hawthorn actually got in the win column last week, shockingly. St. Kilda also in the win column, but both played subpar opponents. St. Kilda 12.5 on the road, total 160.5. I can't lay that points with them. Hawthorn's scrappy enough they could cover, and St. Kilda does not have a good offense. So we'll be going under 160.5 in that game. And then we got 2 on Sunday, 1:20 a.m. That's basically Saturday night for you here in the Eastern Time Zone. Richmond hosts Melbourne. The total 166.5. Melbourne laying 12.5 on the road. They survived the Crows last week, Melbourne did not play very well. Richmond was down to 37 in the fourth quarter and came back and won last week. So they really showing some signs of resilience. Richmond was dead and buried, and now they're all of a sudden a playoff team. They're sitting in a spot where they're if they could win out and get a little bit of help, I think they'll make it in. So I don't love them here, but they are at home. They're pretty good. So I'll lean Richmond taking the points. If that line goes up past 12.5, I would definitely take them. And the game over the total, Richmond really kicks it well at home, and Melbourne probably has the best offense in the league when it's clicking. So we go over in that game. That's my best play there. And then we round it out with the worst two teams in the league. 2:40 a.m. North Melbourne, the Roos at the West Coast Eagles. Kangaroos minus 3.5 on the road. Total 168.5. The North Melbourne's won the last 3 in the series, so I'll be picking them. Think they can get the job done. West Coast is just so bad, but we'll be going under 168.5 here, as I think both these teams will be so desperate to win a game. They're going to give their very, very best effort. So, that rounds out the AFL. We're into round 20. A few more weeks left. 5 games, I think, left, and then we'll be into the finals. So, should be a good last few weeks. You got 5 teams trying to fight it out basically for like the last 2 playoff spots. So excitement on the horizon.
Who right now is your lock, your burial?
Well, as far as the overall to win the league in the playoffs, I'm still going to go with Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide and Geelong would be my 2 picks there. I just don't think Collingwood is quite good enough to be able to win. But this is going to be really good because the Brisbane Lions will be tough. The Demons are going to be tough. Even Western, the Bulldogs, they're dangerous. You don't want to have to play them. I think this will be the best playoff finals that they've had in a long time as far as even teams go. So you could see some upsets.
And
there.
Then your sleeper, your dark horse. Who could
make a run in the playoff? Yeah, I would say maybe GWS, and as I mentioned, Western, but those would be teams that are a little bit under the radar, sitting around like 5th or 7th place that could be dangerous. And really, if Richmond played well enough, they could, and even Essendon. There's a few teams. I originally, at the beginning of the season, my team for that role was Gold Coast, and they've been just terrible. So I'm going to have to burn my Gold Coast shirt. But anyway, all right, that does it for AFL. Couple other things. Cross-sport betting, I talked about it last week when you're trying to find parlays and things like that. Start utilizing Max Verstappen and even Messi now with all the different markets you're going to have available for him to score and do these things. You're going to be able to get parts of your parlay that are like, not I'm going to say locks, but really good value picks with greatness, basically, with Verstappen, with Messi. WNBA, you have two teams in the Liberty and the Aces that are probably going to win the entire thing. I wouldn't maybe the Mystics, but outside chance. But most likely one of those teams wins the WNBA title. So putting that on parlays and then matching up with Georgia to win the college football national championship, or Ohio State, and then adding somebody to win the American League pennant or the NL Central, or you can do 3 or 4 legs, and you'd be surprised about how big these payouts can get, where we're just throwing $5 or $10 on them. So experiment with those. Use a couple of legs in there that maybe you wouldn't have thought of. Like I said, F1 with Verstappen, Messi, and all different things, whether it's to score, whether it's just Miami to win a match or to score over a 1.5 goals, whatever. You got a bunch of different options, and then Aces and Liberty. So try to craft up some future tickets. You can put $5, $10 on these things, and they could pay $1,300, $1,400. Some of them, if you get a really good opinion in a baseball or NFL, even a division winner, I mean, you could win $10,000 on a very small bet. So hunt around for those. And then when you're doing the World Cup, I noticed that a lot of places, when they're doing their pricing, you can find value on almost the identical bet. So if you're looking through and you see both teams to not score, so we talked about that. BTTS, both teams to score no, or both teams to score yes. If you're looking for the no, and it's -220 or so for the no, and then you go and you look at, Brazil is the favorite in this game. The game that whoever Brazil's playing, it's -220 for both teams not to score, so that means most likely Brazil will shut them out. You can go and find Brazil to win to nil, which is the same thing for 30 cents cheaper. So you find -190. So look for those. They're out there. If you look through soccer, if you can find them in baseball too, where it's almost the identical bet, only it's just priced differently because of the way it's being bet into, or in that small percentage that Brazil somehow would get shut out by the team that they're -10,000 to beat. That seems very unlikely to me. If you think that's going to happen, then you're better off betting that team at the huge price, or betting the draw for, if they would draw a scoreless draw or tie 1-1, you still get a really good plus price. So
if I see nil, like if I see that what you just talked about, nil over the BTS,
right,
I'm getting the same, more value for no higher.
So you're right.
Risk.
You're exactly. You're laying $1.90 versus $220. So I mean, even though it's $30 or 30 cents, however you want to look at it, every little dollar, even if you're putting that on a parlay, that every few cents makes a difference on there, and you're basically getting the same exact bet. With, like I said, it would be like if Vietnam played the United States, and both teams to score was, no, -220, which would probably be more than that. And then you just get USA to win to nil. And you can get a better price on that. And it won't always work that way. Other times you'll see the win to nil is the higher price, and the BTTS no is the better price. So hunt for your value, match bets up that are the exact same thing or close to. It's not the exact same bet, but more or less when you're dealing with a heavy favorite, it tends to be, because you're looking at then a team who's a giant underdog being able to win and score against this team. It's very unlikely. So anyway, if you're looking for those kinds of things in your parlays or your straight bets, I advise hunting through them. And if you have questions, contact at thepioneerpodcast.com. Call us on the radio. Shoot us, send us a snail mail letter. I don't know if we've ever gotten one of those.
We need a P.O. box.
Yeah, give us a P.O. box. But anyway, we're going to take a break here on BLS. It's Matt and Jubb with you, and we are going to dial in our man Sam from Upper St. Clair. We're going to talk about racing, get his thoughts on the Pirates and some other baseball-related stuff. It's Sammy P. After the break, it's BLS. Matt and Jubb with you here in the Pine Room Studios. We'll be right back.
Reminder, Bettor's Last Stand is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activity should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. You're watching Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back in. Bettor's Last Stand, segment number 3. We got Jubb, and now we got Sam. It's what a day here. I'm really happy about this. Normally, it's just me and Sam holding it down. I talk to myself for like an hour and a half, and I'm always really pleased when he comes on. But Jub's been a great sidekick today. Sam, welcome to the show, as usual. For those of you who don't know, Sam is our racing and everything sports analyst here on Bettor's Last Stand. So we appreciate his time after a busy work day. He's probably sweating his ass off out there in this excruciating heat, although I don't know, maybe your conditions aren't that terrible compared to your old career, but yeah, it's warm nonetheless out there. How are we today, Sam?
Matt, conditions are worse than the previous occupation. Very hot, very sweaty, but other than that, life's great. Got
Good.
Two beautiful faces to stare at and talk to for a couple minutes, so I got no complaints.
Well, that's good. We're glad to have you. You're following this Pirate game right now as they're taking on the Padres. Just typical Pirate baseball, huh?
Matt, it is typical Pirate baseball. We got 2-1 lead going to the top of the seventh. That means nothing. It's a nothing ball game, essentially. Good chance we lose. Go
Right.
Bucks.
But the good thing is they're playing the Padres, and the Padres have been just about as bad or worse than the Pirates with a gigantic payroll. So that's the positives. So we'll see the positives in things. But speaking about positives, you had a nice winner last week for us here on the show with Denny Hamlin. So getting us into the positive column, because I sure didn't. It was a horrible week in golf and NASCAR for me. But no, you saw right through it. You had a nice winner with Denny. You had Dixon double top fives in Iowa. And then obviously Verstappen. That was the hardest pick he made, like it is for us every week. But yeah, so what thoughts on the race last week at Poconos? Denny gets his 7th win on the Big Triangle.
I would say, fellas, I got a little lucky. As Matt, the race results, people aren't too thrilled with Mr. Hamlin right now. But like my gut instinct was like, ever since Denny Hamlin said, "I'm stepping it up. I'm going to start driving better every week." He's done it, and the writing was on the wall. Hamlin was going to win it. I got a little lucky.
We'll take it.
Sometimes that's racing.
Yes.
Get a little lucky.
You absolutely need luck, and literally, like the cliche goes, it's better to be lucky than good. And in racing, that's definitely the case. With Denny getting win number 7 there at Pocono, it was another good race. NASCAR's been on a good run of good action lately, exciting finishes, which is good for them.
Yeah, they're on fire. They've been pretty much, I would say, toe-to-toe with Indy Car on my excitement level, because
Right.
like we've been saying, F1 first lap, it's done.
Right.
It's over.
Right, and then Jub actually had some great questions about F1 earlier, so we'll have him ask you kind of similar ones here in a minute. But let's go ahead and recap the Indy Car. Your boy Newgarden, who's now maybe he's got some signs of life for the championship. He sweeps at Iowa. You had Scott Dixon with the 2 top 5s, which is nice. So back-to-back winners there if people had them. Newgarden cuts into the lead of Palou in the championship. Palou now minus $12. Newgarden 6-1. Thoughts about the races in Iowa? Were you able to see much of either one of them?
Matt, I was able to catch a majority of both.
Okay.
I don't get this race at all.
No, me either. It's
The
weird.
first one, Matt, day one, Saturday, 5 cars finished on the lead lap to end the race.
Right.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, no. That's not normal. Yeah.
So if you do the math, that would be 23 cars that were not on the lead lap. I mean, I think that's just embarrassing.
Right.
And it was just dominated by 2 people. It was dominated by Newgarden and Power. Power was
Right.
good all weekend. He just couldn't figure it out, man.
Right.
I thought they were good races, though, but I didn't understand. It's so small.
Right. And what do you attribute that to? Just those cars were set up so much better than everybody else's, the front pack, and that there was not a lot of cautions, and they were able to just navigate lap traffic well. Yeah, I mean, that's not an easy thing for Indy cars.
No, it was just weird. It just seemed like 10 laps in, they're already, there's already cars down.
Right.
They're already.
So it's like
fighting traffic.
NASCAR would be like Bristol, like some of the
Right,
old
yes.
days Bristol, where you had like guys, literally Darrell Waltrip towards the end of his time was down a lap before the race started almost.
Right. So it was just odd to see. Newgarden he was dominant.
Yes.
Absolutely dominant. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah. Well, do you think he has any chance of tracking down Palou for the championship, or is that still going to be too tough?
It's tough. He's 80 points away, but he's the only person realistically that's
right. 2 horse race.
close.
No doubt.
I mean, Dixon's 120 and Ericsson's at 330. So
Yeah.
If it's not Newgarden, it's Pelot's title to lose, essentially.
He's in the Hitachi car. Is that right? His sponsor's Hitachi.
Joseph Newgarden.
That is correct,
Yes.
Job. He did win 2 races
Hitachi.
in the Hitachi number 2.
Don't they make vibrators?
I'm sure they do.
Wonder
they
why
do
you
a lot of
wonder why
electronics.
he ran so well.
They're definitely in the electronics. I don't know about that segment of
You didn't
electronics.
see that at Best Buy.
I mean, maybe TVs and cameras and stuff, but yeah.
Job, I'm on a conference call with Joseph Newgarden later. I'll ask him why he ran so well on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, why were his legs shaking after the race?
Oh no. Oh boy.
All right, and then here's a couple questions I got for you about Indy Car. I don't know much about racing, and I'll ask both of you two this. What are the main differences between F1 and Indy Car?
Money, the car is smaller. I mean, realistically, it's just money. The car is smaller, different design. That's like the main 3 things I would say. I mean, the teams are bigger in F1 because there's more money. I would say that those are the 3 main things that separate.
Yeah, I mean, you have the Indy cars. They're able to race on ovals. The F1 cars would like the guys, if they crashed, it would be instant death.
They'd be dead.
Like the power and stuff of the F1 is just in another level than the Indy. The F1 cars are really kind of designed only for street. I mean, they have the most power and speed of any of the cars in any type of racing, really, of the 3 main circuits anyway. But they have to harness the power by having them on street type tracks and road courses. Whereas Indy cars, they're able to go top speeds on ovals. Indianapolis isn't really an oval; it's more like a square. But some of the other ones, Texas and Michigan, and then some oval racing that you see, which you would never be able to see with open wheel F1 cars. So yeah, those are, and then obviously, like Sam said, the crews and the money. Although the crews and the teams in IndyCar are really good. I mean, you got Roger Penske and Chip Ganassi and the McLaren team, and they're starting to get some traction. But the F1 right now is sweeping the world as the most popular racing circuit.
All right, so Joseph Newgarden, is he like the Verstappen of F1?
Well, no, because Alex Palou, who had won 4 or 5 in a row prior to this week, yeah. So Alex Palou,
Joseph Newgarden's like the pretty boy of IndyCar.
Great
Great racer, great guy, but he's got like that look. When you look at him, you'll know. But if I can send you a picture of him, you know exactly what I mean.
So I'm a first-time IndyCar bettor, and I want to throw some shackles down. Give me somebody best bang for my buck. Not somebody that's not a no-brainer, but somebody that's not a common dominant driver. Give me somebody that might come out of the woodwork.
So like we're off this week, but like in Nashville, you're looking for a guy. Like for an instance, like if we'd have identified Christian Lundgaard won 2 weeks ago at like 100-1. So like, yeah, that's the kind of guy you're looking for, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Sam, do you have any early thoughts on Nashville that you could give Jubb a big sleeper?
I think
give out some good ones,
Newgarden, it is his home track, so a lot of people are favoring Newgarden. He's got the momentum, but I mean, I like my go-tos, my Dixon's Award. I haven't crunched the numbers completely. Right. I did a little looking. But next week, I'll crunch the numbers.
Maybe Rinus VK. He could be Dane. He's always good if he could ever show up.
Takuma Sato.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't even know. As Sato, he'll probably be in that race. But, yeah,
Job, like, it's weird. Like, a driver like him, he's only racing ovals for Chip Ganassi. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, so he's like abbreviated schedule.
But he's only racing the specific. Yeah, but he is good.
Yeah, and he's won the Indy 500 twice, so he's definitely good. But yeah, so yeah, you can find some value though in Indy, but they are a little top heavy because you got Alex Palou and then Newgarden and then Dixon right there. But yeah, like Sam said, Will Power is really good, can win anytime. Marcus Ericsson is really, really good. Pato Ward. I mean, you got a lot of good guys, and even when you see like Alexander Rossi every once in a while show up, or Felix Rosenquist. I mean, it's definitely a deep colony. So hopefully we'll be able to find you a good winner next week at Nashville. and obviously Sam's boy is Stingray Rob. We're waiting for him to break through and get a huge win.
The 51.
What if you were named Stingray Delbro, Job?
Matt, did you see when I texted
Yes.
you just Stingray?
Yes, Stingray. Incredible.
Unbelievable that his wheel fell off.
As
They
only
didn't even put
Stingray
the
can
gun
do.
on. It drove away, Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, Stingray seems like he's got some excitement. I guess that's why he's named Stingray. But yeah, so we'll talk plenty.
About a Stingray.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll talk plenty more Indy Car next week as we head to Nashville. And again, the championship race probably going to be Pelot's to win. But Newgarden at least cut into it with back-to-back wins. So, all right, let's stay in the open wheel. Let's go to F1. I was talking to Jubb earlier about how dominant Red Bull is and just how good Verstappen is. And he was asking me, and this is a good question. So, Jubb, ask Sam the question that you asked me about the Ferrari and I think McLaren, just about how was it their drivers that were letting them down or their cars?
Yeah, so because we were talking about how, because I make the bet sheet every week in Team Red Bull and Mercedes, those are like the names that I'm used to seeing, and Matt brought up McLaren and Ferrari. And my question was: Is it user error? Is it the driver that is bringing that club down, or is it the car, the build, the make, the model? Where are we at?
That's tough. That's actually a very good question because I think the answers are different for each team. For like a Ferrari, I think a lot of it is user error.
Exactly what I said.
Because it's not that they don't have the funds. They have the funds to get any driver they want.
Yes.
Like Matt, last year, they'd be driving, they would crash.
Yep.
One would crash. And then, you'd have the occasional engine blow up.
Yeah.
And that. McLaren, it seems like more of a money and like technical issue because they've been saying they've got these drivers, they're so talented, and then this and that. And in these last 3 weeks, we'll say,
yep,
it's been everything that we've heard for 2 years of this is the talent. What happens when you get them in this type of car with this type of money? It's been proof. Top fives, both drivers.
Yeah.
Pretty much unheard of for McLaren, so those are my answers.
Those are great. I mean, not to say it's great we always agree, but yeah, we kind of did. I said that McLaren seems to have made improvements throughout the season to now they're actually showcasing where their drivers weren't really the problem at the beginning of the season. And it's now showing that if they put an adequate car out there, these guys are all right. I mean, Lando could have maybe won the race last week if it wasn't for Verstappen. You just take him out. I mean, he maybe is the next best car. And then that same exact answer for Ferrari. Their equipment is not indicative of how good they are right now. Their equipment is actually really good. It's their drivers that are definitely letting them down. And it's been like that really the last 2 years. Last year, they were actually even better than they were this year, and they had so many mistakes. So, yeah. I'm with you on that one. It is nice to see, though, McLaren getting up into the top 5 and 6 now, 3 weeks in a row. Because now you have Mercedes in contention, double top 6 for them. Red Bull's back running like amazing as always. And then you got McLaren, and then you got Fernando Alonso hanging around. But, yeah, I would say the most disappointing team this year has been Ferrari in my estimation. What do you say?
And then you saying that, Matt, I have to ask. Can McLaren catch Ferrari in the points?
Well, I don't see why not. Now they dug themselves.
Think it's possible?
They dug themselves an extreme hole with the way they were running early in the season. But I would say yes. I'd say they have a really good shot because they got a lot of momentum right now. And if they can continue to string together and not have bad luck, it's inevitable. Even though you start putting it together and maybe your car's running well, you may have a hiccup here or there. But no, I don't see why not. They're right now. They have the most momentum of any of the teams other than Red Bull, obviously. And then I would say Mercedes is third. So heading into this race this week in Belgium, Verstappen defending champion, shocking. Sergio Perez finished second, so Red Bull was 1-2 here last year. Carlos Sainz was third, Russell and Alonso rounding out the top 5. Sam, have you identified anybody that you really like this week? Lewis Hamilton crashed here last year. I think he'll probably run a little bit better, but is this just Verstappen versus everybody else as usual?
I think it is, and I have a crazy top 10. I've been sitting on it for 2 days. I've been thinking about it. This guy, and Matt, it has to do with the Williams team.
Oh, jeez.
Alex Albon.
All right.
Look for a top 10. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. He this year has impressed me a lot, and I can't even believe I'm saying that. I don't know what it is, Matt. I was thinking about it last night, and I was thinking about it today on my lunch break, and I was scrolling through my phone, and I saw a picture of Alex Albon, and I said, yeah, I'm going with my gut. My gut is telling me Alex Albon something this week. It's going to be good or bad.
Okay, well, he finished 10th here last year, so that's good. And job for a guy that's not aware of F1, the Williams team is a team that's been around for a long time, a lot of history, but they have not been very good in recent years. But they're showing some signs of slight improvement. They're actually finishing ahead of Ferrari guys a few weeks ago somehow. But no, so Alex Albon, maybe he's the guy for a dark horse top 10.
Matt, I've got to ask you, and Jubb, if you're going to pick a team to cheer for in F1, it can't be this Alpine team, okay? Matt, what is going on?
I have no faith in them. I actually kind of liked them last year. I was using them quite a bit in top 6 markets and things like that, but I haven't bet them since maybe the first or second race of the year. I've just got off them. I have zero confidence in that team. I don't even mess with them at all.
They're terrible. It's just like a matter of which one's going out of this race this week.
Right.
One or the other.
Right. Just flip a coin. Yeah, just first team to retire. That might be Alpine. That might be the way to go every week. What did you think of Daniel Ricciardo?
I thought he did pretty well.
Yeah.
It's like P13 is good. I know he started 13, but my question in my head is just like, where would Nick DeVries have finished?
Right.
Honestly, is it 16? They keep saying, oh, turn 1. If he didn't get bumped turn 1, he could have been in the top 10. Well, coulda, shoulda, woulda. He's P13, so
yeah,
I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah, I think he's stabilized enough. That team's not had the greatest stuff, so I think him to just hold where he was is probably a pretty good start for him. But yeah, I think he'll be on to better things and probably in a different cockpit sooner than later, maybe.
Yeah, that whole race was weird. Like Lewis losing those positions on the first lap,
right?
And then
right.
Joe Guan Yu starting 5th and finishing 16th is.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure old Joe's going to have what it takes. Ever since he survived that bad, catastrophic accident, I kind of was pulling for him. I was hoping he'd be doing better, but him and Yuki Tsunoda both, to me, are at like a pivotal spot here. I don't think they have a whole lot of time left if they don't start to make some headway, but it's not always their fault. They're kind of stuck on teams that maybe are letting them down a little bit equipment-wise. Do you think those guys hang on for another year in F1?
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be really tough. I feel like now there's so much, everybody wants a team now. The money is so much that they're just going to be cutting guys. If you don't perform, you're done.
Right. How about Valtteri Bottas?
Yeah,
what a fall from grace that he's had.
I know. Mercedes is not too driver to this.
I know. He was winning races like 2-3 years ago.
F1.
Yeah, he's winning. A couple of those races,
awesome, man. He
was like dominating in those. If Hamilton wasn't getting them, and it was him right before Red Bull got on the scene to be dominant. I mean, Valtteri Bottas was arguably, right there with Lewis Hamilton.
Right, and then Jubb, to your question you previously asked, that would be an example of what your money can do for your team, as opposed to maybe your driver's not as great. Because you look at Valtteri, he goes to a team with less money, he's not that great, but this team with all this money, look what they can do for you.
Yes.
So to circle back there.
Yeah, you see a lot of that here. I mean, you even saw it towards the end of Sebastian Vettel's career. I mean, if he's in a better ride, I mean, he's performing better than he was at the end of his career. Fernando Alonso is another example. Finally gets in a better car this year, and he's been very good.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, so let's pick it. Is it Verstappen? Your big under the radar pick is Alex Albon, and then do you think Max wins the race as usual?
Yeah, I think Max wins easily.
How about?
And I think Sergio's going to have another good running as well.
I agree. I think he's right. He's going to be right there. All right, so who does better, the tandem of Hamilton and George Russell, or Piastri and Lando Norris? McLaren versus Mercedes.
I think Piastri and Norris.
Okay, you're riding McLaren.
Dude, Lewis Hamilton's got this rain cloud going over him. I don't know what it is.
Does.
Well, he better
Mercedes
do
team's just
better
weird,
than
man.
last year.
Yeah, he had a rough start. So last year I think he was. I don't even remember. I feel like he wrecked really early in that race. Did it say how many laps did he ran? Oh yeah, it was on the first lap. Yeah, that was. Jeez. Yeah, I'll say he didn't even make one circuit around this place last year. So, well, I expect a little bit better of an effort out of Lewis this weekend, but we shall see. But a good pick there with Alex Albon. I like that. Maybe he's a guy to look at in your matchups when you're getting ready for the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend. All right, so let's jump over to NASCAR. Round us out here on Bettor's Last Stand, the Cookout 400 at Richmond. Again, NASCAR seasons went fast. I feel like we were just at Richmond, but here we are again. A great track. Really enjoy this track. Lots of potential winners here. Kyle Larson won in April. Hendrick ran 1-2. Josh Berry, I think, was second in this race for that, in for Chase Elliott. So take note of that when you're betting. Josh Berry was in relief of Chase last time. So most likely Chase will have a live car here, and he needs to win for the playoffs. We keep saying it, Sam. We've said it for like the last 3 or 4 weeks. Jubb's boy, Chase Elliott, needs to win to get in the playoffs. There's a lot of guys that probably are going to need to win their way in here. It's getting down to crunch time. It's now or never, and then Kevin Harvick is still looking for a win in his final season. Thoughts on that stuff, and can any of these guys get it done this week?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Matt, you said at the beginning of the show that NASCAR, these last 4 or 5 races, they've been on a roll, man. They've been really good races, and it's everything you want. You want this drama. You want people fighting for these playoff spots, especially when they're not all filled because people are going to be wrecking. They're going to be driving aggressive. That makes you tune into these end of the season races, which is great. And I love it, man. I love that Elliott, a fan favorite, needs a win. Jubby, your guy. Give him send him a text. Fire your boy up. Tell him. Pedal to the floor, baby.
Yeah, stay off the snowboards, Jay. That's probably the first advice, because that's why he needs the win. He'd be in probably on points. He'd be one of the top guys. But yeah, I like him though. I think he's worth a look. He's never won at Richmond, but he's 16-1. I mean, you're getting, again, we keep saying, getting great value on him, and Logano keeps dropping about $2 every week. He was 20-1. Now he's down to 12. He's got 2 wins here. I feel like he had momentum last week. I feel like he raced well. He did until his fucking hood had to go up. But he wins stage 1, but he almost wins the week before at New Hampshire. I mean, Logano's got to break through here, so he's going to probably be my number 1 pick here. What say you on Logano?
I love it, Matt, but I'm afraid to say the crazy words of I'm out on Joey Logano because I know what's going to happen. Right. He's going to win.
Yes, you can't get off of him now.
Good. He's very good.
Yes.
So I think you're correct. I have him highlighted on my sheet. I had a tough time picking a winner for this one.
So who are some of the guys in the mix on your card? Truex, the favorite right now. Kyle Larson, second choice, and then the last week's winner, Denny Hamlin, third. It's 6.5-1. See,
and I only have one of those. I only have Truex.
I agree.
My other ones on my list are William Byron.
Okay.
Christopher Bell.
Yes, like him.
And Kevin Harvick. I think Kevin Harvick can get it done. He's been racing here for so long. He's won here a bunch.
Yes, 4 wins, 18 top 5s.
And Matt, I need some opinions here. I also got maybe a Gibbs top 10.
Okay.
And a Chastain top 10.
No, Gibbs I think is a interesting. I think Chastain at 16-1 is a possible win bet. He's run well here his last 2 times. Let's see. Ty Gibbs finished 9th here in the last race, so I definitely would consider him as he continues to get more experience. They're at Richmond, and I heard guys say this years ago. Richmond is either a track. I think it was Brendan Gaughan who said this on one of his. He does a podcast, and it's really good because they talk about like from betting standpoints. He said immediately Richmond is one of these tracks where if you're a driver, you know if you're going to either love it or you're going to hate it. And he's like, I hated this track. And he said usually guys who come out on their first run at Richmond and run it well will love it forever, and the other guys will all hate it forever. So you try to find, and you figure, well, Ty Gibbs, his first run at Richmond, he's finishing in the top 10. I would imagine he probably likes it now. So I think he is definitely a worthy candidate. He's going to surprise us one of these weeks and win one of these races, don't you think?
I hope.
Yeah.
I really hope so, man.
Yeah, well, he's got the team. He's got the pedigree. I mean, he's right there. I mean, he's a rookie, so you can't forget about that. I mean, it's hard to win as a rookie in the circuit period, and Richmond would be a track that would be very tough. But there's no reason why the Toyotas have run well here in the past. I mean, I think, and going back to Chastain, he's a guy who was 3rd and 8th here last year. He's always in the mix. He's aggressive. He's gonna lead some laps. So I think we talked about Trackhouse, how they've been running, and Suarez was terrible last year, all kind of issues. But I think Chastain is due for another win before the playoffs. I think he's a definite contender. He's a guy that I had, and at 16-1, I think that's a really fair price. Do you agree?
Oh, it's an unbelievably fair price. I mean, he was my number one racer up until he had his little incident and he had to get talked to this year. I mean, he was everywhere in the beginning of the season. And I think they had a plan, kind of just let the fire settle down, let the smoke dwindle, and then second half of the season, fire that bitch up, baby.
Lull everybody to sleep, start abide by the rules, but in the final few races, then go back to your old self, probably, huh?
Right, because you're in the playoffs, you're locked in.
Yeah.
Thing of beauty, man.
I do, and I think we talked about that. We hit on it about Ryan Blaney, too, is a guy who just will continue to churn out solid finishes and not get overly aggressive and knows he's in the playoffs. He got his win, and then I think when playoff time comes, not that Blaney's like Chastain as far as aggression, not even close. Couldn't be more two opposite guys, but as far as just a different type of focus that you're going to get versus guys like Chase Elliott who need to win and get in, Keselowski, these guys who really... a win is, they're going to have to win. Keselowski could probably point his way in, but you don't want to take a chance, a couple of bad finishes in a row, and then that's out the door. So I think you're going to see guys trying really hard in these next few races. It should make for great, exciting finishes. Two guys I want to ask you about, I just mentioned one of them. Keselowski's 30-1. He's won twice here. A win for him would be really good. It relieves him of any pressure of a late season letdown where he misses the playoffs. And then Eric Almirola. Ran here well last two times. And you know what? Eric Almirola has actually been racing pretty well in his last two seasons after he was getting ready to retire last year. And he was a contender to win at New Hampshire 2 weeks ago until his dumbass crewman didn't get his wheel on. So what do you think about Almirola and Keselowski this week in where the hell are we? Cookout 400 in Richmond. Jeez.
Matt, I love you said Almirola. I've got him highlighted right below Gibbs. I just didn't bring him up because I was just uncertain.
Sure.
Now that I know that we're thinking on the same wavelength, I love the Almirola pick. He has been racing well, and it is a shame when your buddy forgets to tighten your tire and that your wheel falls
especially
off.
On a 2-tire stop when you were waiting for gas. Like, you had no reason to not get that tight. It wasn't like you were racing to get 4 on and try to beat somebody off pit road. It's just idiotic. Unacceptable.
Yeah, and with Keselowski, I mean, Keselowski needs the RFK win, man. They need it bad.
Right.
They need it really bad. I think he's their only option, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, Buescher's a kind of guy who's, they've gotten a lot out of the talent of Buescher. He finished 3rd here one of the races last year at Richmond. Was 30th in the other one. So Buescher, you kind of get as much as you can out of him. He's just not a guy that's going to win very often. He's going to need things to set up perfect for him. But Keselowski showed me a lot this year. I know you had him dead to rights. I was on the fence about him at the beginning of the season. You were telling him to retire to go out to the pasture. But no, he's held it together, and I'll give him credit. I like him as a guy. I think he's pretty. When he's on the broadcast, I enjoy listening to him talk. So I think he's still a competitor, and I think if they can continue to get better as a team, he could maybe make a little bit of noise in the playoffs.
I agree. I was definitely my worst take of the year that Keselowski needs to retire.
Oh, we all
go
miss bad on things. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I got to own it. I can't. I didn't say it. Good. I definitely said it in those seats you guys are sitting in.
Yeah.
Brad, you made me eat my words, even though I don't know you.
Hey, all right. So let me get your final thoughts on another guy that you're pretty dialed into the pulse of his team. Kyle Busch, 6 wins here at Richmond. Where do you see him? Is he just kind of waiting until the playoffs too to kick it back up a little bit? I'm sure a lot of these guys are.
Yeah, it seems like it. When I was looking at like the next gen numbers for this race, pretty much 23 to 21 is what I looked at. his name wasn't popping up too much.
Right.
I mean, I see that he's won a bunch previously, but something about this track, or I'm not really sure what it is, but he definitely did not stand out to me in maybe like a top 5, top 10. But yeah, he's in the playoffs, so what's he really got to worry about?
Right, and I had the same notes about him too. Is last year he was just mediocre here. A lot of his wins in Richmond came, early on in his M&M's run when he was really dominant. And he has not been nearly as good. He had a 14th and a 9th last year. That's just average for him. And even Tyler Reddick, who was in that car last year, not so great. So I don't know. I'm not sure this is a great track for that team. But you can never really discount him. But I'll probably be laying off of Kyle this week.
Yeah, I agree. Man, I cannot wait for these next couple races.
I know it's going to be fun, and the playoffs are going to be great. It's going to be as good as it gets because you're really going to have. The beginning of those playoffs, there's going to be like 10 dudes that you think have a chance to win it if they just get the right luck and the right, car setups. Martin Truex is kind of on a verge of like a potential heater right now. He's having great cars week after week, and hopefully he saves some of that because he was my preseason pick to win the championship. I hope he has some of these good cars come playoff time, but it's going to be really good. There's so many guys that can win. All right, so let's wrap it up here with the Cookout 400. Do you think a Hendrick car is in victory lane this week or one of the JGR cars? I'm assuming you think it's down to those two teams.
I'm looking right here. I'm just going to go with my gut. William Byron.
Okay, Billy Byron is the pick. I like it.
It was between him or Bell.
Yeah. Well, I'm going with Logano, and then probably Elliott is my second choice. So we'll see. I'm going to go with a Penske car. I'm not sure how great that pick is, but the Chevys are going to be strong. The Toyotas are going to be strong, and it's going to be a great race at Richmond. It always is. Never disappoints. You get lots of different strategies, brake failures, and things. People burning things up, burning up their clutches, and all kind of good stuff. So
I don't have a winner for you, but I'm gonna throw two guys in the top 10.
Please.
One guy finished 15th last year. Mr. Todd. I'm gonna butcher
Todd
this
Gilliland.
name. Todd Gilliland. I'm gonna put him in the top 10.
Okay.
And then
I love it.
You can get him at a not as great of a price, 300 to 1. I'm going to take Harrison Burton up in the top 10.
All right.
Yeah, baby, the Woodpeckers.
Yes. All right. Jub's underdogs of the week. I like it. And there's no reason why that can't happen here at Richmond. I love it. All right, Sam, before we let you run, go ahead.
Harrison Burton's got the best looking car in NASCAR.
It's very sharp.
What's he driving? Let me see.
Does that help you? No.
What's he driving?
21 Ford Motor.
Yeah, the Motorcraft, or it used to be the Citgo car for years. It was the Wood Brothers Citgo car was like the synonymous with that 21 team. But yeah, Harrison Burton, no reason why he can't be in top 10.
There you go.
I like it. Good plus money bets from Jub. Sam, before we let you go, I got to ask you about MLB trade deadline. We talked a little bit off air about this. Are the Buccos? I had the Buccos as a team that absolutely needs to be sellers, but what say you? We've been talking about it for the few weeks leading up to this. What's going on in the game right now?
Andy Rodriguez he was just staring at this fly ball. It was like right under him, and then he started doing that thing like where he realized that's not where he thought it was, and he started and he caught it real. Oh, Jesus. Holy God, it was bad.
What's the score?
But yeah, it's still 2-1.
Oh, okay.
We got a 2-1 ball game right now.
So buyers or sellers? Actually,
outs.
both of those teams, Padres and Pirates, should probably both be sellers. What say you?
Yeah, I say you definitely sell, but you don't sell everything.
No, yeah. No,
you get rid of Bednar. I think you could even get rid of Hayes.
Yeah. Oh, if someone would take
Reynolds,
him.
You can get rid of Reynolds, but oh my God.
When he says don't sell everything, I picture them out there like selling gloves and bats, everything in
they
the
probably
dugout,
would.
Jerseys.
Nutting sells everything.
Fernando Tatis just flew out to the warning track, and I mean the edge of the warning track. All right. But yeah, like I was saying, I think you try to get whatever you can for next year because, next year was the year. Now it's 25 because we kick the can down the road some more.
Yeah.
It's tough, Matt, because if they don't do something then it shows that I guess they are committed to next year, but we're not getting anything in return.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
My question is, if you got like guys like Mitch Keller and even Bettor to a certain extent, and Bednar is only good when you have a lead, I guess. And I guess if you think you're going to be that much better, then maybe you hang on to him. I would move him. But like Mitch Keller, he's hit the wall. The time to probably traded him was back in June when he was winning games and people were loving him and he's getting Cy Young talk and. I don't think he's any more than like a number 3 guy on their team. The Skeens is going to be hopefully a number 1, and I'm sure they can find somebody else off a scrap pile. Maybe they can sign somebody, spend a little cash, and get a number 2. But I don't know. I just feel like this team just tries to fake its way to its fans to make you think that they're in, but they're really not. And they've got to move some of these older guys. There's Santana, Rich Hill. And like you said, if they could get rid of Brian Hayes, not that he's old, but I just think they got to be sellers. I think the Padres need to be sellers. I think the Mets need to be sellers. These teams aren't going to have a chance. Like, I don't care what they bring back in return. If teams with that have had this roster make up the whole year and they've not gotten any better, something's wrong. Either the manager's not pushing the right buttons, or you've hit a kind of a lull where you're not going to get out of it. There's not that many times where teams like the Phillies just turn it on like they did last year and make that run through the playoffs. It's just not going to happen. What about buyers? Anybody that you would like to see go all in to try to make a run for the World Series when maybe you don't know? I bet you're going to guess. I bet I know who you're going to say, but go ahead.
As a buyer, it's tough. The Braves could be buyers, but they don't need to be buyers.
Yeah, that's what I said that earlier, yes. I thought you'd say the Orioles.
I do, but I keep hearing this dumb rumor of this Ohtani to Baltimore and Jackson Holiday involved, and I know that isn't true because Jackson Holiday is really good.
Yeah.
But I've seen, Matt, I think honestly you're correct. The Orioles should be buyers and the Rays should be buyers.
Yeah, the Rays need here, in my opinion, with the Rays are kind of in the spot where I would be like part seller, part buyer. Like, I would trade Franco right now. Something has went wrong. Pirates got something going.
Go, baby! Santana.
Oh, there you go.
Fucking
up in his stock. That's his 3rd one this week.
He does.
All right, they got to ship him out on the next boat. Get him out of here.
Seriously.
But the Rays, I think, are at a spot where something's gone wrong with their team as far as their internal chemistry. They're having to bench guys and sit guys down for attitude troubles. Like, that's weird for a professional team. So if I'm them, I'm moving a couple of guys who are valuable and then maybe bringing some other big-name guys in. If they're going to do that, they're going to have to, because they lost again today. They're struggling right now. And another team, the team that beat them today, the Marlins, they're struggling now after the All-Star break. I don't think they have a whole lot they can do. The Braves, you make a good point. They don't really need anything. What about? I think the Red Sox are going to be under the radar. I think they're going to get involved. I think they're going to take some shots at the trade deadline. They're still right in it.
I know that AL East is disgusting, Matt.
Yeah,
it is so disgusting.
Yeah, and the Yankees underachieve.
Let's see, because the Rays got Lance Lynn. Is Dylan Cease gone? Can we give the White Sox Key Bryant?
Did the Rays just make that move for Lance Lynn?
I'm seeing right here. It says White Sox trade Lance Lynn to Rays.
There you go. You got your hat on for the White Sox. The selling begins.
Now,
live on Bettor's Last Stand. We got trades going on.
When we're talking buyers and sellers, and this because I don't know.
I don't know if it's true.
No,
okay.
I don't know dick about baseball, but so a seller. So the Pirates are going to sell whatever product they have
because they're out of contention.
Because they're gonna try to build up capital to get somebody
for next year.
But haven't they sold every year for the past 10 years?
Yes, they do. But the hope this year is that I said, they move a piece that somebody doesn't have to get back a piece that they have enough of that will help the Pirates next year. I don't think they should trade all these guys for prospects that are going to be good in 5 years. But try to find guys who are getting close to being ready, who maybe that team has, like the Pirates, for instance, have 2 supposedly number 1 catchers in their. Another team may have two really good outfielders or whatever, and they don't have enough room for one, and they find a spot where a team has a surplus and switch.
I just don't understand, because I mean every year, my brother, who obviously is a diehard Pirate fan, it's
obsessed. Every
time that they either get rid of somebody, he always says, "Well, we're gonna buy. We're gonna eventually buy. We're gonna get a big name," and it never happens.
Never happens.
Or if we get somebody that sticks around and has a decent name in Pittsburgh, then they get rid of him, and then we don't get anything for him. My question to you, Sam, and I know you love him, and I know you'll hate to see him go. Austin Hedges. What are your thoughts? Just because I don't fucking know. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, as a human being, I hear he's a nice guy. Because I was talking a lot of shit on him, and of course on the TV, there's something that he has all these wells in like Africa that spew up water. So I felt like a bad guy, but I'm talking baseball here. He's a bad baseball player.
Right.
It's business. Job.
Can't get in the way of business.
We as a fan base, we have been brainwashed in so many ways, and this Austin Hedges first half of the season into the second half is a prime example of the brainwashing that the Pittsburgh Pirates continue to do to this fan base and get away with every year.
Yeah,
that's how I describe it.
Sounds like there needs to be a congressional hearing.
I agree. Yeah, forget about UFOs. They should be investigating the nuttings in the Pirates and sketchy business.
They need to put Ben Charrington on the stand.
Yeah, swear him in and make him answer the tough questions. I know the Pirates are going to let us all down. They're not going to do what they need to do, and they probably won't sign anybody in the offseason, and they'll just think that like Skeens will be the savior, and that all these young guys will just pan out. But I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned.
Why would you sign here, Matt? Why would you sign here if you're a free agent?
Right. I don't know. Because you're not going to get paid a lot. I don't know what the plus.
No, I mean you're not winning. If you're not winning and you're not getting paid a lot, what are you going to look at the fucking bridges?
Right. Yeah, right. It's a beautiful city. It's a great city to drive in. No, not really. All right. Before we let you go, or actually, let me ask you this question: who wins the NL Central? If you had to make a bet right now, you betting the Brewers? Are the Brewers going to add anything and then finish off the Reds, or are the Reds still hanging around? Or the Cubs? I made a case for. People were saying they should be sellers, but I think they should actually be buyers because they're close enough that they can make a little headway. What do you think about the NL Central, the daunting NL Central?
I think the Cubs are better than their record says, but I think it's the Reds' division to lose.
Okay,
the Reds are very good.
You can still get a plus price on them. All right, Sam. Well, thank you as always for joining us. Anything else to give to the listeners before you part?
I just want to say, Jubby, it was great to see you, bud.
Yeah, this was kind of an impromptu thing. I know sports aren't necessarily my wheelhouse, but
no, you made it. You made the show fun.
Well,
Joe.
good.
Well done.
Good.
All right, Sam.
Good to see you, Sam.
Best of luck. We'll talk to you next week. Good luck with your bets, and I'll talk to you over the weekend.
Yes, sir. Later, fellas. Go Bucks.
Bye, Sam.
All right, that's our man Sam from Upper St. Clair. Appreciate him joining us every week. He's a busy guy. Got a busy work life, but makes time for us each week, hopefully capitalizing on some of these race winners he's been giving out. So we'll try to keep it going. William Byron seems to be the pick. Alex Albon a little under the radar there in F1. And Jubb even releases some picks this week, which I jotted down, and we'll be putting those out with mine and Sam's picks. And it won't be long. You'll have Coach back here, Chris, Luke, giving you these big football winners every week. The run around the pine tree 10-star lock stuff. Still like to get Nick on here one time.
Yeah, you'll have to get Nick and Say on here one time.
Just to give us some a big breakdown of the card, get Nick's analysis of why the Kansas Jayhawks are going to win the Big 12, which, could happen. But anyway, that's going to do it for us here on Bettor's Last Stand. Jubb, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was really fun.
And we appreciate you. You're welcome back anytime. You do all the work with the show behind the scenes, so he gets to come on this side of the camera and be a part of both sides of it. So anyway, that'll do it for us. Be sure and get your IC cab arranged for the weekend. Italian Festival, Grecian Festival, Marshall County Fair. Be safe. Drink up that Pine Room Lager. Get out to Generations. Get a burger. If you're not going to the Italian Festival and you want to sit in the AC, go out to Generations. get a nice Pine Room burger.
Yummy.
Be sure to check us out on the radio next week and at the Italian Festival today, 12 to 3. When this airs, you'll be able to come down and say hi.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dan from Slobovia will be stopping by and all the other people around town. So it's great to have you listening to us here this week. And check us out on the radio Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from now on. As I said, we may move to Fridays at some point during football, but we'll let you know. High school football around the corner, college football around the corner, pro football around the corner, but we still got plenty of other things, good sports, baseball, soccer, all kind of other things. It won't be long till everything's in session, hockey,
Whoopee.
basketball. Yes, Jub can't wait, but pretty soon we'll be hopefully in the Pine Room on a nice chilly Saturday evening with a snowstorm coming down, watching UFC. Until then, Matt and Jub saying so long for the Pine Room Studios here on Bettor's Last Stand, and we will see you next week. Best of luck in your wagers.